Welcome to Compai's Expat Channel. I'm Compai. I am Susua's voice of reason. You saw the thumbnail. You probably got a good idea what's coming down the pike. Yes, it's a reaction video. I've had more than one of my followers say, John, we would like to get your opinion on this guy's video. But what's more important is your opinion on my business, Casad Kai. There's a lot of places to rent in Susua. If you're looking for peaceful, affordable, and tranquil, look at Casad Kai, Susua's hidden gem. When you're ready to reserve at Casad Kai, my contact information is in the description down below. Guys, thank you for watching my advertisement. That is how I provide a living for myself down here in the Dominican Republic. And that's one of the things I want to talk about in this video is YouTube content creators making content to make a living. See it a lot down here, and I'm watching it change from the guys that talk about the mangoes, the girls, the creep cams, to selling this, selling that. And I'm very, very critical in my YouTube channel about people who've been here after COVID. I don't want to sound like a broken record. I don't want to sound like somebody that has an axe to grind, but I'm really concerned about people who've been here 3 years, 5 years, acting like they truly know the market. And I know from doing business down here 16 years, you don't learn it in 3. It takes a lot longer than 3 years to give out volumes of information that these YouTube creators are putting out. I don't care if you have a Dominican wife. I don't care if you've been doing aid work in Haiti. I don't care if you've been coming down here for 8 years on vacation. I don't care. It takes a long, very long learning curve to understand this culture, to understand how things work, to understand the mentality of the expat market. There's a lot that goes into it. What I'm seeing is just peddling. We're going to give you an entertainment video, and that's the key. Always treat us YouTube content creators as entertainment. Don't take us super seriously. So when guys are saying, invest here, invest there, be careful. Because I'm going to show you real quick what every YouTube content creator is about. All you have to do is go to somebody's description. Here's how money is made. Getting commission on services, selling a product. Guys, you know my product within the first 30 seconds of my video. My product bears witness to my authority here. You don't build a condo complex. You don't own multiple properties over an extended period of time unless you know what you're doing. That gives me the authority to say, hey, always read the descriptions and see what content creators are trying to sell you. When they say land for sale, they're getting a kickback. When they refer you to a lawyer, most of them are getting a kickback. When they send you to a real estate agent, most of them are getting a kickback. I send you to 2 real estate agents because they've been down here for 20 plus years. It's more important for me to maintain my integrity in the business I do, in the city I do it in, than to make 10% commission. I'm not jumping over dollars to get the pennies, and that's what a lot of people do down here. All right? So with that being said, I'm going to do a reaction on 2 segments of this content creator's videos. The first one is similar to a video that I did about a guy in Susua who got arrested, and other guys going to the jail to try to help him out, how it's just not a wise thing to do. And the thing that I really, really want to drive home, okay, and this is so important going into this, it doesn't matter what us gringos think, doesn't matter what us gringos feel, it doesn't matter what us gringos want, it matters what us gringos do, and more importantly, or just as importantly, what we say. I want everybody to listen very clearly and look me right here in the eye and understand this. As visitors in this country, I don't care if you have a cedula, I don't care if you have a residency, I don't care if you have a Dominican wife. We are foreigners. We are outsiders. We are never included to the level of a Dominican. If anybody's telling you that, they're not being 100% honest with you. Certain things gringos do not do is get into politics. The other thing gringos need to avoid is certain subjects that touches the core of the situation of the public at that moment in time. Keep your opinions to yourself. It's one thing to be sitting in a Kamado and having a couple beers and saying, you know, I agree with you. It's totally different when you do a YouTube video and you say certain things that go out to everybody. And let me explain this real quick and as direct as I can say about this subject. Us foreigners, you never, ever, ever put Dominican dirty laundry in the breeze. You don't do it. You better pick and choose your words real carefully if you're going to go down that road, because they don't like it. They get very upset when it happens. Now, the guy that's only down here 3 years, he don't know that. When he's selling you all those items in his description to make money, probably to provide a living, he's going to cross that line. But this guy's going to tell you, don't do it, because I don't want to see you get in trouble. Because if you cross that line and you go into an area that offends the right person, they're going to come after you. They're going to make an example out of you. And guys, the problem is, since COVID, it's been really calm. It's not like it was pre-COVID. So all these guys who come down here after COVID think this is how business is done. Oh, this is the amount of business that happens every year. This is what you can and can't do. No, things are going back to what they were pre-COVID. Why? Because the amount of money post-COVID is now drying up. So the good times aren't as good as they were. So everything is going to eventually revert back to the way it was before. Not 100%, but it's coming. And one of those things is know your place. You do not get involved in certain things that are as emotionally intense as the jet set collapse. Now, guys, I did a video on this, but I kept it strictly on construction. Did not get into the owners, this, that, and the other thing. So let's get in to this video.
There. The owner, Antonio Espaillat, I think I'm saying that right. He and his sister were recently arrested for, I guess, negligence in terms of the roof collapse happening as a result of their negligence. If you don't know the whole story, I don't know where you've been, but here's the deal. Months ago, Ruby Perez, who's a major Dominican singer, was performing a concert at Jet Set nightclub when the roof fell in around midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, killing nearly 240 people and injuring another 180 more. And the people in that room were well-known baseball players, politicians, CEOs of companies, and much, much more. Truly one of the saddest days in the history of this country, and you could feel it for many days after, even not having been in Santo Domingo that day. No matter where you were in DR, and I'm sure if you live in the United States and you are Dominican, you could feel the heaviness of that day, and it just lasted. And
Guys, they had a 3-day a morning event. They mourned for 3 days. They shut everything down. They did not sell liquor. There was no music being played. It was 3 days a national state of mourning. That's how emotionally distraught the whole nation was. Now, remember what I said earlier. There's certain things gringos talk about. There's certain things gringos don't talk about. Explaining how this tragedy affected the locals, how it affected the country, how it affected people internationally, that's fine. But there's going to come a point in the video that I'm going to point out, and I'm trying to lead everybody up to the line. Where we go, what's acceptable, then what's over the line, because this can get us gringos in a lot of trouble. And it can get you in trouble legally, and it can get you in trouble physically at the same time.
It still does in many ways. Flash forward to earlier this week, there was an arrest made for Antonio Espaillat and his sister. His sister, it looks like, might be more under house arrest, and he is being detained without parole at this point in a detention center here in the Dominican Republic. And I reported on this on another YouTube video and talked about how the charges were essentially that he admits that he never had the roof inspected despite some renovations that were done. And the code is pretty clear that if you have major renovations done, you do need an inspection done. And that there's negligence in the fact that he may have overloaded the roof, not just with equipment, but also with repairs, maybe some not so good repairs that created more thick concrete on an already weighed down roof. And then add to that an employee of his coming out and saying, hey, I sent WhatsApp messages to him telling him that the roof is not going well. It's going to collapse. It's not good. And they were ignored or not followed up on. Now, when I first heard that news, it was implied that this had happened at some point in the past. But the new information.
All right. We're talking facts. We're talking events. We're getting into the area where we're talking, I don't like what's being. He's leading up to the part where they're going to talk about arrests. You're still putting, when you're putting this kind of, this isn't good for us gringos to talk about. The Dominicans can talk about this all they want. It's their country. Well, now we're getting into, this is a little too deep for a gringo to go, in my personal opinion. Listen, let me say this again. I have no axe to grind against Jamie, but I don't want other YouTube content creators to think they can do this. I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't touch this with a 10-foot pole. There's nothing to win in this video. I don't care how many likes you're going to get, how many watch hours you're going to get. Nothing good can come out of doing a video where you put Dominican dirty laundry in the breeze. Guys, it's not wise. So let's continue.
Information we're learning is that WhatsApp text from the employee to Antonio were sent that night. In fact, the New York Times reports it this way. It was 2:23 p.m. on a Monday in Santo Domingo. This is well before the concert started. And the club's reservation manager, Gregorio Adames, was getting worried. Chunks of the roof were falling and knocking down ceiling panels. Reading through this, he sent a text. Sir, there's an important issue that needs to be reviewed at the disco, he wrote in a WhatsApp message, the club owner, and according to a 126-page criminal indictment. And then when another chunk came down at 11:40 p.m., bruising a customer, this is before the whole roof came in, he said he urged his boss to cancel the show, but Antonio was out of town. That's interesting. Being out in that Dominican sun is exhausting. When you get home, you want to make sure you're falling asleep on a great mattress. Well, the good news is you can get one here. Colchones Naco is the premier mattress and bedroom provider here in the Dominican Republic, selling name
YouTubers. Guys, these are how these people make their money. I make my money heads on beds. Mattresses make me a lot of money as well because I put heads on beds. But guys, there comes a point where your desire to provide an income should never override common sense. This gentleman can do whatever he wants. And guys, I'll be the first one to tell you, his YouTube channel is much better than mine. I subscribe to his YouTube channel. He puts out I've only seen 2 videos, but he puts out a very entertaining product, much different than mine. Much different than my channel. I do things a little different, but let's get back to the video.
added more layers of concrete, increasing the weight that eventually led to the collapse. It also says that renovations in 2010 and 2015 were done without permits and a necessary support column had been removed. Bingo. If you go back to my last video, I said, man, the law is pretty clear that if you make a major renovation to a property that you do need to get it re-inspected. A pillar being removed or a support beam, that's a major renovation. Before that, what I had known, some people had told me this, and thank you to those that commented and said, no, there was a post that was removed. Like, I got the facts now and I appreciate it. But my point in the last video was, I mean, if the law isn't overly clear on like minor.
In fairness, I've also, the video that I did about the jet set collapse, I said that's too big of a span not to have columns in the middle. And I'm not an engineer, just a guy that's been redoing property since he was 20. And I said, that just doesn't look right. So I said, if columns were removed, that's a serious issue. And that's exactly what appears to have happened.
Is the significance of the fine and or prison time. And this is, says if convicted, they could face 3 months to 2 years in prison and a small fine. It says even the fine is less than $2. It's insignificant. That was said by a man named Duran is his last name, Ramberto Duran, he was trapped for 7 hours under rubble and his wife died instantly. So he's saying the most they can get is like a couple of dollar fine and 2 years in prison. Again, many of you told me about that, and that is a travesty if he's indicted.
All right, guys, here's where the line got crossed, right here. This is one thing, the state facts going up and up, which I would avoid this with a 10-foot pole, okay? This is where you're putting the core of the issue of putting Dominican laundry, dirty laundry in the breeze. The Dominicans can say it's a travesty. Don't you do it as a gringo. Do not go on a social media platform where other Dominicans can see you talking about something that hit the core of this nation. It hit it to the core. And you're going to go in and start calling it a travesty. Remember, everybody has friends. They may not be your friends, but everybody has friends. And he even talks about this in the video. Why kick a hornet's nest? Why go someplace that there's nothing for you to win here other than selling your product, other than getting commission? So let's get back to this.
And prosecuted for homicide, 2 years. That's not enough, especially now reading some of the additional details that have come out on this tragedy. The article goes on to explain the skepticism of many, and I know many of you feel this, around the fact that he is an elite, he has some significant wealth, he has attorneys, and those attorneys will likely get him off with a small slap on the wrist. Now, I agree that those with wealth are able to essentially buy their way out of major prosecution here. I do, on the other hand,
as a gringo, don't be saying that. Why? Where's the profit in saying that? Some things just need to be left unsaid. I'm not calling him a liar, but the last thing I'm going to say to an elite is there's a two-tier justice system here. I'm not going to do it. Do you realize, guys, if you cross that line here and you upset the wrong family, you got a cedula, they'll pull your cedula. They'll kick you off the island. They'll put a stamp in your passport, and you'll never come back. Guys, it's happened before, right? This isn't new. I'm not making this up. I'm not saying it's going to happen to this YouTuber, but why go there? Why do a video just to do a video? I understand it's current events. I understand you're going to get some traction on it. But this, as gringos, the whole purpose of this is not to say, hey, this is a bad YouTuber, he's a bad guy. No, I think his heart's in the right place. I think he wants to do the right thing. I think he would be a great guy to have a beer with. But I don't think he's been in the country long enough to understand the full impacts and the full recourse of what could happen by doing this particular video. This is just unwise.
see that this is a unique case where one elite is responsible for the death of hundreds of other elites who have a lot of money. So I do believe that there's a better chance that he gets the full prosecution, even if it seems minimal, and spends time in jail just because of who it was. Put it this way, if it was a little building in San Pedro, I don't think he ever even gets arrested because there were unknown people that were injured or killed in that building. That's my take. But because of who was in that building when this all went down, I mean, legends, celebrities, the governor of Monte Cristi, she died in this tragedy. I mean, she called Abinader's wife from the rubble. Imagine that. And she later perished. I don't know. For me, I think that he gets the full prosecution, but obviously I think we all feel this way. The full prosecution doesn't feel like enough if he's indeed guilty of this level of negligence. And as a lesson for all of us, as we're buying and looking to build or build property down here, making sure that our buildings pass inspection, that they're done well, higher.
All right, let's end that video there. Guys, not only did he go over the line, he stepped back and jumped on it a couple of times. It doesn't matter if you think that he's going to get off. It doesn't matter if you think he's going to serve 2 years in jail. It doesn't matter what you think. The fact that he said that it was all the elites who died, all the more reason to avoid it. Let them handle that out. Because if you think you're talking about it, you have no idea what the Dominicans are saying behind closed doors. Certain things need to be avoided. Now, then throwing in, if it was happened in a smaller city and no-name people died, nothing would have happened. That's just throwing fuel on the fire. That's why go there. So guys, my whole point of doing this video isn't to say, hey, this guy is a bad guy. But let me say this. As guests in this country, it doesn't matter if you own a condo complex like I do, you have other properties on top of that, it doesn't matter. If you upset the wrong family, the wrong person, you're going to get in trouble. You're going to have issues. So always, and listen, I've acted out in ways that I regret it. You will do it because living here is like death by 1,000 paper cuts. Eventually, you're going to lose your shit. I know. I'm on like an 8-week cycle for that. Seriously, every 8 weeks, release the pressure. But you got to understand how you fit as a foreigner into the Dominican society. And you don't fit in by putting their dirty laundry in the breeze and calling out the elites in the process. And saying, if it wasn't for the elites dying, nothing would be done. Because, you know, that's just stirring the pot a little too much. I'm not saying he's wrong. What I'm saying is, guys, don't think you can do this and get away with it. You might get away with it for a while, but that one time you offend the right person for the wrong reason, your life is going to change. So, guys, with that being said, remember, keep private personal and personal private. Peace out.